Okay, so we're back with another book review, and this time it is for Jennifer Weiner's The Griffin Sisters' Greatest Hits. So I actually received a free copy of this on NetGalley for my honest review. Super excited about it because honestly the cover is gorgeous. The description was really enticing, and it reminded me a lot of Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I was so excited to get started on this. It actually took me way longer to read than I wanted it to, but that's just because we had a lot going on. So I'm going to have a few spoilers in this video, but I will give you an alert before we get into the spoilers. But for now, we're going to have a spoiler-free review, and I'm going to go over everything that I loved about this book and some of the things that I did not love. So let's go ahead and get started. So just to give you a quick book blurb, Cassie is basically a musical prodigy. She can play a song for the piano just by hearing the music, and her voice will turn heads as soon as she starts singing because she sounds that beautiful. She is actually the bigger sister, the one who is less attractive according to everyone in the book. Zoe, her older sister, has always wanted to be a rock star, has mediocre musical talent, and together they form a band, mainly from Zoe's pushing on Cassie because Cassie is a complete introvert. The whole book is you have two timelines. You have your past timeline where Cassie and Zoe are forming the band, getting worldwide famous for the band, and then eventually the band crashing and burning, which you learn about literally in the first chapter, so that's not a spoiler. And then the second timeline is from Zoe's daughter, Cherry, and how she wants to be a rock star and make music and how her mother doesn't want her to do that. So those are your two timelines. You basically have 3 point of views. You have Cassie, Zoe, and Cherry. There may have been like a random one sprinkled in there, but I don't remember it. So that's our little blurb, and that's what you're doing as you're following the book. It's centered a lot on family, but you do get a good bit of the rock and roll and the fame and what happens with that fame. So the first thing I want to get into is the characters because I always love to talk about the characters. Characters will make or break a book or a movie. This book, in my opinion, is primarily character driven. The reason that I say that is because you do have a big plot and you have a lot going on in that plot, but your main drive here is the relationship between the characters, and that's why I think it's character driven. We have Cassie and Zoe, our two sisters, who are worldwide rock stars. They're super famous. They finally made it because this is everything Zoe's always wanted, but not necessarily everything Cassie always wanted. And then you have this guy named Russell D'Angelo. He is someone that the record label sent in to help them write songs and actually I think he's a guitar player in the book. But anyway, he is the main romantic lead in that Zoe wants him and Cassie is in love with him. So with Cassie, the main thing about Cassie in this book is that she is honestly almost every single page she's on, she's described as fat or ugly or just not attractive and not good for TV and not good for stages and all of this stuff that is so derogatory. I saw a couple of reviews saying that this novel was very fat phobic, but in my opinion, while it may still be fat phobic, it was portraying what happened in the early 2000s to women like Cassie. And I think that was an honestly accurate portrayal because people were brutal. It made all of these things that these labels that people put on Cassie made her introverted, made her not want to talk to people, made her not want to be looked at on stage because she was afraid that people would judge her. And rightly so, because she had been judged and teased before. So she had no reason to suspect that people would treat her any differently, even though women and girls loved her music and loved her because she represented something different. She represented a turning point in the music industry in this book, basically. That's Cassie, and I thought she was so well developed, and I thought that there was so much about her, and she was so nuanced that there's plenty left for discussion. So Jennifer Weiner, she doesn't lay it all out for you about Cassie. You have these things that are woven in that you're like, oh, I wonder about this. Or they may mention one thing and you're like, wow, that makes sense for this character. But it's not laid out for you to just know everything about this character, which is great because it leaves room for discussion. So the next character that I want to talk about is Cherry. Cherry is Zoe's daughter, and she's said to be Russell D'Angelo's daughter as well, but Russell is said to have died, and it's mentioned in the very beginning of the book. Heartbreaking, and I barely even knew the guy, but Cherry basically pushes back against her mom any chance she can get. She wants to make music. Her mom doesn't want her to make music. She says that the industry breaks girls and stuff like that. And so you get to know a little bit about Zoe later on and why she says those things. But with Cherry, she's in this basically singing competition, and her driving force is not family. Her driving force was never family, and it never felt like family throughout the novel. Her driving force was her own success and her own career, and it honestly felt like a mirror to Zoe, just in the present. And it kind of scared me a little bit because I did not like Zoe's character, guys. Like, she was horrid. And so I guess I'll just move into Zoe. With that being said, Zoe always wanted to be a rock star. Zoe always wanted to be famous. She always wanted to be looked at. She always knew she was beautiful. She used her beauty against other people. And honestly, it was exhausting reading about Zoe because she was supposed to be this amazing sister to Cassie, but she was so mean to her throughout the whole entire novel. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, why is Cassie putting up with this? Why are we even calling her Cassie's sister? Because Zoe was acting nothing like a sister should act. She was unkind. She was selfish. She was literally a B word. I'm not going to say it, but she was a B word the whole novel, except at the very, very end. And she caused every problem that this novel had. Everything that went wrong was Zoe's fault. And I cannot explain to you guys enough how much I dislike this character, because the main reason being that you were supposed to get this redemption arc. It's all, even in the book blurb on Amazon, it's called a redemptive story for family. Zoe was so horrible in the past timeline that I could not find it in me. Even in the present timeline, there was a couple times in the present timeline I'm like, I do not like this woman, but I could not find it in me to forgive her by the end of the novel, even though we learn one bad thing that happened to her and how guilty she's felt and all of that. Like, girl, you felt guilty for 20 something years and you never even tried to make it right. You just sat there and felt guilty until your daughter did all of this stuff and made it just work for you. She drove me insane, because I can't even get into it without getting into spoilers. But anyway, she felt irredeemable. She felt completely irredeemable by the end of the novel, that I was just like, I don't even care anymore. I do not care. All I care about is Cassie and maybe Cherry a little bit. And I obviously care about Russell, but you find out in the very beginning of the book that he's dead. So, okay, no, I don't care about Russell anymore. I mean, I do, but anyway, justice for Russell, because damn, every scene he was in, he was a great character. He stole the pages, so to say, any scene he was in the book. And I hate the trope where the good and kind and just and pure person always dies. Like, why? Why is that a thing? Why can't we have this person live and then them teach things to other people? Why does their death have to be the lesson? The worst trope ever. I hate that trope. But anyway, let's talk about the plot before I get into the spoilers, because otherwise this review is going to be very long and basically just a huge rant. With the plot, I loved the past scenes. I think the past scenes were really well paced. You get a lot out of them. I honestly wanted to continue reading the past scenes, which I see myself doing in a lot of books that have dual timelines. I find one timeline to be more exciting than the other, and I want to skip through the other timeline. I wanted to skip through the present. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I just wanted to skip through the present until we got to the big reveal of what all transpired to make everyone hate everyone. But the past chapters were the best. I think the pacing went really well. The fun rock and roll on stage, becoming famous, what fame does to you, all of this good stuff. It was really interesting. What bothered me about the present day was there wasn't enough drive and push for me to want to read the present day chapters. I didn't feel like the stakes were high enough. I wasn't sure what we were fighting for, and I just needed more for present day to make it more entertaining for me to want to read both timelines. So let's go ahead and get into some spoilers, because this is going to be really long if I don't get into the spoilers now and then finish this review. I said this before, I'm gonna say it again. Zoe is horrible. Literally so horrible. So my spoilers are basically gonna be ranting about Zoe and everything that she did to cause every single problem in this novel. And I usually don't get this upset, but I'm upset. So Zoe complains about always having to take care of her sister in the beginning of the novel and always having to show her sister how to be social and how to talk to people, and she always had to include her sister in every setting that she was ever in. Big whoop, okay? She literally intimidated her musical prodigy of a sister into starting a band and getting famous and going on stage just to further her own agenda. She conquers Russell like he's some sort of prize or like he's an item or like he's not an actual person, because apparently sleeping with him means that he's hers, and she feels like, oh, my place in the band is secured if I'm sleeping with Russell. Forces him to basically marry her. Don't get me started on how much I wanted to throw my phone and basically vomit when she did that. Who in their right mind would ever do something like that if you are not a sociopath? And then the worst part is at the end of the novel, when you're finally getting all of these reveals, she tells Russell that she's pregnant after cheating on him with Tommy, even though Russell was cheating on her with Cassie. Big thing. But she tells Russell that she was pregnant so that he won't leave her to go be with Cassie because he loves Cassie. And she says, I'm pregnant. You can't leave me. You have to stay with me forever, and you can never be with Cassie because I'm not going to be a single mother. Guys, this is what I'm saying when I was saying that she was almost irredeemable by the end. I can't forgive that. And then Russell gets drunk and he feels horrible, and there's this note that's saying, I never should have touched you. I'm sorry. And freaking, I'm about to start cursing on this YouTube video. Freaking Zoe gives this note to Cassie and says, it's all your fault. Russell's dead. He got drunk because he says he never should have touched you, and then he goes out into the road, whether it was on purpose, accident, we still don't know, and then he dies. I was infuriated, absolutely infuriated, and I can't be the only one who felt like that. Did anyone else feel like Zoe was irredeemable and you could not forgive her by the end? Because Russell deserved so much more, and Cassie deserved so much more, and Cherry honestly deserved so much more from her mother than what she got. And random, but I guess we'll never know who Cherry's real father is, because Zoe said she was 90% sure it was Tommy, but then it's never mentioned again, and she's saying it's Russell at the end. So, spoilers over. I can't rant anymore. I think I've gotten my point across. So overall, I really did enjoy this novel. Zoe was just so horrid. I couldn't get over it, and I think she's part of the reason that I only gave this novel 4 stars. It was very close. It was teetering towards 5 stars, but there were too many things that pulled me back from that 5-star review, and it was because of Zoe and because I didn't feel as connected and it didn't feel as family-centered as it was supposed to be for it to get the full 5 stars. Now, like I said, I really enjoyed this book, and once I got into it, I just went through it super quickly. But what bugs me more than anything about this book, again, was Zoe and her bad decisions. She felt unbelievable as a character because the things she did was so horrible, and I can't imagine someone doing that to their own sister or a bandmate or someone they love. It just doesn't make sense to me. I wish Zoe would have had more to make her a little more lovable and more redeemable, so I didn't feel so icky at the end for thinking, okay, she's forgiven. It's cool. What if I didn't want her to be forgiven? That's what I felt about this book. Please leave a comment down below if you've read it, what you think, if you think Zoe is as irredeemable as I thought she was, and go ahead and hit that subscribe button because I'm always going to do book reviews. I do movie reviews, book versus movie, book versus TV show. I make a lot of videos, so leave me a comment down below, give me recommendations for another book to read, and I will see you guys later.